business presentations, school extempores, college debates, HR interviews, and even Tinder dates. English can make or break the game for you. Do you fear public speaking? Do you find yourself underconfident while talking to someone? Do you think that poor grammatical structuring can strain your impression? Are you tensed about tense? Then this video is surely for you. Before we start with the video, here's a quick quiz for you to assess your knowledge of spoken English. There are 4 sets of questions, each with a minor tweak here and there. You have to select the correct sentence. You have 5 seconds for the same. You can also pause the video and answer the questions. So here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up. Time for answers. So on the left side of the screen, you can see all the correct sentences, and on the right side of the screen, you can see all the incorrect sentences. Do some of the sentences surprise you? How many did you get right? Hello everyone, this is Neeba and I'm here today to teach you about the correct English usage. The first question that we need to answer is, which English do we use in India? There are 2 types of English, that is the British English and the American English, and a lot of words that we use are directly sourced from the British English. For example, biscuit, we call it a cookie in America, and crisps, we call chips in American English. We call a lift an elevator in American English, and the post box is called as a mailbox. So these are some of the examples of words which can be used varyingly both in British and American English. More often than not, we hear of the word called Hinglish. So this is made up of 2 words, that is Hindi and English, and this is a special type of English that we use in India. Now Hinglish is one of the jugaad that India has innovated. Now the example of words that India contributes to English include words like bungalow, jungle, pandit, guru. So these words were not there in English, but they have been added into English through the Hindi versions of such words. Indian English is another variant of English, but this doesn't give us the right to mispronounce or misuse grammar rules for English. They stay the same wherever we speak English. Before dwelling on the correct usage of English, it is of utmost importance that we identify the parts of speech that are present in a sentence. Don't worry, I won't be dealing with the details of every such part because this is not an exam oriented video. This is just a video that you can use in your daily life to correct your spoken English. So when we talk about the parts of speech, we start with the article. This defines the noun that we are talking about. So the article consists of indefinite articles that can be a or an. Please notice that an is used before vowels and a is used before consonant, and the can be used before vowel or consonant. Then comes the adjective. In this sentence, the old tired man was sitting under a tree and patiently waiting for his son to arrive. So in this sentence, the old and tired are adjectives. Adjectives describe a noun. So the man is a noun and they describe that he is old and tired. Was sitting is a verb. Now verb is an action or state. This is something that tenses act upon. Tenses act upon verb, and verbs are basically modified to suit the tenses, that is present, past and future. Under is a preposition that defines the location. So preposition links a noun to another word. Then this is an article again. Tree is a noun, and is a conjunction, and it joins clauses or sentences. Patiently is adverb. Now what is an adverb? The way adjectives used to describe a noun, adverbs are describing a verb. So how he was waiting? He was waiting patiently. For is again a preposition. His is pronoun. Pronoun is something that we use to avoid the repetition of a noun in a sentence. So once we've used man, we won't be using man again. We'll be using pronoun. And son again is a noun, and to arrive is a verb. Here we have understood that there is a noun, a verb, an adverb, an adjective, a pronoun, a preposition, a conjunction, and there is one other thing that is an interjection. So just like we say bravo, you've done a good work, something that we say with a lot of sentiments and emotions, we use an exclamation mark after it. those short words are called interjection. So these are the different parts of speech. We'll be using them. I just wanted to give you a brief overview of the same so that I don't have to repeat it again and again. So now we'll be dealing with different rules of how to construct a sentence and how to see if it's grammatically correct or not. One of the major mistakes that English speakers tend to commit is regarding the subject-verb agreement. What is subject-verb agreement? It is as simple as it sounds. It states that the verb that we are using must match with the subject that is present. Now, what is subject, verb, and object? So there are three parts to a sentence. Now please note that these are the three parts to a sentence. This should not be confused with the parts of speech that we just talked about. Now we take an example. We say that we went to a beach. So here we is the subject, went is the verb, and beach is the object. In Hindi, we call this karta, जो काम कर रहा है. That is, we are doing this work, so this is we. An object is something that is being operated on. So the work is being done on the beach. So simple. Now this is verb, this is subject, and this is object. So for a singular subject, we use a singular verb. For a plural subject, we use a plural verb. Now let us understand the same with the help of an example. We take a verb is. Now is a singular verb. The plural form of is would be are. Are is a plural verb. Is and are verbs in the present tense. The same is would be converted into was for a past tense. The plural verb for the singular verb was is were. Now one thing we have to notice here is that for he, she, it, we use the verb is, but for I, we use a modified form of is, that is am. The next thing we have to keep in mind is for a singular subject, a singular verb is used. So when I'm talking about a singular subject, I mean he, she, it, and I. And when I'm talking about a plural subject, I mean we and they. Let us take a few examples to try out these rules. In the first sentence, I, this is a singular subject and therefore am is used, which is also a singular verb. In the second sentence, we is a plural subject and therefore are is used, which is a plural verb. In the third sentence, he is a singular subject and therefore is used, which is a singular verb. And the fourth sentence, they is a plural subject and therefore are is used, which is a plural verb. Now I am going for a run. We are going to the cafe. He is a bright fellow. They are waiting for us. Now we deal with the peculiar case of you. You can be used for one person and the same can be used for a group of persons. One thing to be kept in mind here is that you is always a plural subject and therefore has to be followed with a plural verb. This is a mistake that a lot of English speakers tend to commit, that they use a singular verb with you when talking about one person. But irrespective of the number of people you are talking about, you is always plural and has to be followed with a plural verb. For example, Mr. T is a teacher and she talks about a student called Geeta and she says, Geeta, you are an obedient girl. Now are has been used. Even though Mr. T, the teacher, is talking about one singular subject, even then you is a plural subject and therefore has to be followed with a plural verb. So in the same case, if Mr. T is talking to a group of students, she would say, you kids are naughty. As a general rule, when kids are used, it is a plural subject and therefore has to be followed with a plural verb, that is are. Clear? Let's move on to the next. Now we move on to the concept of has and have. Has is a singular verb, have is a plural verb. Therefore, has is preceded by a singular subject. This includes she, he, it. And have has to be preceded by a plural subject. That is we, they. But just now I said that you is also a plural subject. Therefore, it should be preceded by you also. Now, one more thing that is very important here. Just as in the case of you, I also has peculiar qualities when it comes to has and have. So we always say I have. Although have is a plural verb and should be preceded by a plural subject, but in this case there is an exception, that I should be followed with have and not had. So it is I have done my homework, I have eaten my breakfast, but it should never be I has. This is completely wrong. Please, please, please take care of the fact that you do not use has with I. Moving forward, we take the case of other verb. We've already talked about is, are. We've already talked about has, have. Now we'll talk about other verbs. Now please look at these examples. These verbs are plural verbs. We will change them to singular verbs. Eat becomes eats. Drink becomes drinks. Go becomes goes. Play becomes plays. And catch becomes catches. So we see here when we change the plural verb to singular verb, an S is added as in the case of eats, drinks, plays, etc. And an ES is added as in the case of goes and catches. Now let us quickly complete this worksheet to test our understanding of the above rules. So she goes because it's a singular verb. We go. She goes to the market on Thursdays. We go to the market on Thursdays. I go to the market on Thursdays. Now this is an exception right here. We've just talked about it, that with I we use have and we use a plural verb, that is in this we use go. And for I we do not use is, we use am. So I is an exception. So I go to the market on Thursdays. You again go. Why? Because you is a plural verb. Then I am an artist. I just said that with I we use the form of am for the verb is, or we can also say that the verb is be. So for be and is we use am when it comes to I. You are an artist. I was studying in the classroom. You were studying. So for I we use was in the past tense, and for you we use were. Ritika has or have? Has. Why? Because Ritika is one person, a singular subject, and therefore the verb that we will use is a singular verb, that is has. My colleagues, now this is S, this is a plural subject, we'll use have, that is a plural verb. My colleagues have a habit of coming late to the office. Rahul has been, or Rahul have been. Rahul has been. Why? Because Rahul is a singular subject and we would use a singular verb for it. Rahul has been playing since morning. They have been. They have been sleeping. Why? Because they is a plural subject and have been would be a plural verb. Now one brownie point that I would like to highlight here is that when we are using this continuous tense, we often use since and for. Now what is the difference between since and for? When we use since, we use to denote a particular point of time in the past. For example, morning. This is a particular point. We are talking about the morning, or 2 p.m. or afternoon. So we use since when we are taking the reference from a particular point in time. Now when do we use for? For, on the contrary, is used when we are talking about the length of time. For 2 hours, for several months. Now let us look at some examples to test whether we have understood the concepts of since and for. Now these blanks have to be filled either with since or for. So the first one is Mr. Johnson has worked for this company 1980. So now this is 1980. That is a specific point in time. So here it would be since 1980. He's worked since 1980. Kate hasn't eaten anything. So 6 hours. This is the length of the time or the period of the time. So for. So Kate hasn't eaten anything for 6 hours. Peter has read 11 books last weekend. Last weekend means a specific point in time. So since 11 books since last weekend. Jason and Clara have been friends. This is now 10 years. That is a period of time or the length of time. So for. I haven't seen my uncle Thomas a long time. This is also a period of time. So for a long time. They haven't come together. Dash, they graduated from the university. So they graduated from the university is a specific point in time. So here we use since. Cindy has driven her car only 5 months. Again a period of time. So for only 5 months. We haven't seen Mr. Parker this morning. Specific point of time. Therefore since. We haven't seen Mr. Parker since this morning. David hasn't telephoned since he left the school at 3 o'clock. Again, specific point in time. The singer has sung 7 songs. The concert began. So the concert began is a specific point in time. So we use sin. Harry isn't experienced accountant. He has worked here in this company a short time. A short time is the length of time, again for. Next, Stephen has been an English teacher dash a decade. Decade is a length of time, therefore for. Stephen has been an English teacher for a decade. I haven't been to London last spring. Last spring is specific point in the past, therefore since. I haven't been to London since last spring. Now there are some special cases or some exceptions wherein the subject verb agreement rule does not hold. So one of the examples of such exceptions is the modal verbs. The modal verbs are also known as the helping verb. They express the modality of the verb. For example, the ability, permission, advice, obligation, and possibility. For ability, we use can, could. For permission, we use can, could, may. For advice, we use should. For obligation, we use must or have to. For possibility, we use might, may, could, and can. Please write down in the comment section if you want me to make a separate video on modal verbs. Now the case here is that when a sentence contains these modal verbs, it should always have a plural. It should always have a plural verb. For example, look at these two sentences. My partner might eat. My partner might eat. So here in the sentence, we have a modal verb that is might. If there were no modal verb in the sentence would be my partner eats. But due to the presence of a modal verb, it will always be followed with a plural verb. Now we can see some examples. David, here it is a singular and should have been followed by a singular verb. But due to the fact that it has been followed by a modal verb, speak instead of speaks is written. David can speak 3 languages. He, again singular, could speak fluent French when he was in 5. May I borrow, not may I borrows. May I borrow your dictionary? You should visit, not visits. You should visit your dentist. So the first exception we see that when the sentence contains may, could, will, must, should, the verb should always be, always be a plural verb. Now there are some other rules of exception to the subject-verb agreement. The first rule is that when there is a singular indefinite pronoun, always use a singular verb with it. Now what are indefinite pronouns? Indefinite pronouns are pronouns that refer to a person or a thing without being specific. For example, everything, something, nothing, anything. So some of the indefinite pronouns are singular. For example, another, anybody, anyone, anything, each, either, everybody, everyone, little, much, neither, nobody, no one. And some indefinite pronouns are plural. For example, both, few, many. And some can be both singular or plural. So pronouns like something, everything, nothing, anything are indefinite pronouns. So the rule says that for singular indefinite pronouns, we should use only singular verbs. Now we just saw that each one is a singular indefinite pronoun. So we would use a singular verb. That means each one of the boys is or are called for the meeting is called. Had this not been the case and the sentence would be boys dash called for the meeting, then we would write are. Boys are. But since we are talking about a singular indefinite pronoun which is each one, then we use a singular verb that is. Similarly, for the second sentence, everyone has done his or their work, his work, because everyone is a singular indefinite pronoun. So this is rule number 1. Now we move on to rule number 2, which says that when two singular nouns are connected with and, a plural verb is always used. For example, Jack and Jill. So Jack is a singular noun and Jill is a singular noun, and we use and to connect them, and therefore we use love. Had it been Jill dash to play, then it would be loves. So Jill loves to play, but Jack and Jill love to play. So this is rule number 2. Now we move on to rule number 3. The rule number 3 states that the words like neither or either are always singular, and therefore a singular verb should be used with the words like neither or either. So this might sound a little inappropriate But correct use of grammar rules dictate that neither has a singular verb. Neither of the two traffic lights is or are working, is working. Had the sentence been two traffic lights is or are not working, are not working. But since it has been preceded by neither, therefore a singular verb is used. Similarly, for the next sentence, neither of us is or are coming today, is. So this is the rule number 3. Now coming to rule number 4. Rule number 4 is the rule of proximity. It states that when there is one singular and one plural subject which has been separated by neither, nor or either, then the verb form should be of the closest subject. Now this might sound a little complicated when we read the rule, but trust me, it's very easy. This says that when there are two subjects. Now in this sentence, let's see, neither the head constable, now the head constable is the first subject, nor the other policeman. Other policeman is the second subject. So when there are two subjects, the verb that is or are should be based on the subject which is closest to the verb. Now the closest subject is other policeman. Now policeman is plural and therefore the verb will be plural, that is are. So neither the head constable nor other policemen are injured. Once again, there are two subjects, one is singular, other is plural. The closest subject to the verb is plural. So therefore it is plural. Had the case been other way round, had the sentence been neither the policeman nor the head constable, then head constable would be the subject that would be nearer to the verb. Therefore is would have been used. Neither the policeman nor the head constable is injured. Get it? Next rule states that when there are subjects which are separated by the words like, along with, as well as, together with, then the verb should be used according to the first subject in the sentence. For example, John as well as. Now this is a clause which has been mentioned here, along with, as well as, together with. John as well as his class fellows is or are playing hockey, is playing hockey. Why? Because the rule says that whether it is a singular verb or a plural verb, this would depend upon the first subject, whether it is singular or plural. So now since John is singular, therefore the verb is singular. John as well as his class fellows is playing hockey. Now had the sentence been my classmates and I is or are studying, then the first subject would be my classmates. Since my classmates is a plural subject, therefore the word would be plural. That means are. Therefore, my classmates and I are studying. Easy? Now the above example of my classmates and I gave me another idea of a brownie point that I should discuss with you. So as you can see, there are 4 sentences here. Which do you think is the correct one? I and Vijay will meet at the gym. Vijay and I will meet at the gym. Vijay and me will meet at the gym. Me and Vijay will meet at the gym. You have 5 seconds to guess the right answer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Time's up. Did you get it right? So the right answer is Vijay and I will meet at the gym. A simple way to guess the answer would have been to break the sentence into 2. For example, if I say Vijay and me will meet at the gym. So the 2 sentences could be Vijay will meet at the gym, me will meet at the gym. If we construct 2 sentences from one sentence, we get to know that me will meet at the gym is no sentence. Therefore, me should not be used, and therefore we know that I should be used. So therefore, Vijay will meet at the gym, I will meet at the gym. So this sentence is correct. But what is the significance of putting Vijay first and I next? So this is a general rule in English grammar that whenever we talk about 2 people, one of those is ourselves, then we always put I at the last. For example, Meena, Rekha and I. So it should not be the other way around. Now this is clear that me will not be used, I will be used and I will be put at last. Similarly, look at this sentence. My son and I dash am or are football fan. Now in this sentence too, I is after my son. Therefore, the construction is right. But the question here is, should I put my son and I am football fans, or should I put my son and I are football fans? So both these sentences, please repeat them in your head and then you have 2 seconds to guess the right answer. 1, 2. So did you get it right this time? The right answer is my son and I are football fans. Now you must be thinking that since the verb is preceded by I, it should be am. But remember the rule 2 that we just talked about? Rule 2. Singular nouns connected with and, in that case, plural verb will be used. So here also, my son and I, these are two singular nouns. They are connected with an and therefore a plural verb is used. So it is as easy as this. Now we talk about the last rule, which is similar to the one discussed above. Now look at this sentence. My mother and mentor dash teach or teaches me a lot. So now these are two singular nouns which have been connected with and. Generally, as per the rule, this should be followed. So my mother and mentor teach me a lot. This should be the case. But the rule 6 says that when two singular nouns refer to the same person or the thing. So in this sentence, we can say my mother, who is also my mentor, teaches me a lot. So the verb stays in singular form. So this means that the verb will take the singular form, which is teaches. My mother and mentor teaches me a lot. Now we move on to the last topic of the day, that is subject verb agreement in collective nouns or group nouns. So what is a collective noun? A collective noun is a word used to represent a group of people, animals or things. So there are two rules basically when it comes to subject verb agreement. First rule is that if the collective noun refers to the group as a unit, then it takes a singular verb. How do we know whether it represents the group as a unit? When we see that the behavior of the unit is one. So there is no divergence with respect to the behavior. For example, a huge swarm of locusts dash has or have destroyed the crops. Now we know have is a plural form and has is a singular form. So here we just said when the collective noun acts as a group, then it takes a singular verb. So a huge swarm of locusts is there and collectively it has destroyed the crops. So the verb would be has. This is plural, this is singular. Now the next rule says that if the collective noun refers to individuals in the group or parts that make up the group, then the verb would be plural. Now, how do we know that the collective noun refers to different individuals? We know when their behavior is such, when the behavior of the nouns is such that they are doing different things. For example, in this sentence, we see that the pack of dogs dash was or were. Now, was is a singular verb and were is a plural verb. So we say the pack of dogs dash was or were running off in different directions. Now the major hint here is this, the word different. So when we see that the dogs are individually running off in different directions, they are no longer acting as a group and therefore the plural verb, that is were, will be used. With this we reach the end of the video. I hope you learned something today and I hope you will be implementing the same in your daily conversation. The only magic bullet that can help you improve your English is practice. So practice speaking, reading the newspapers aloud, talking to your friends in proper English and keeping in mind the rules that we've just discussed. If you like this content, please give it a big thumbs up. Do subscribe, share and turn on that notification bell. In the next video, we'll be covering about tenses and their various forms and the correct usage, of course. Till then, stay tuned. That's it from my side. Thanks a lot for your time.